What if I told you that the secret to manifesting your dream isn't about waiting for it to come true? It's about living as if it already has. Imagine walking through your day with the quiet confidence that everything you've ever wanted is already yours. The world wouldn't just look different, it would be different. Because the moment you begin to live from your fulfilled dream, reality has no choice but to catch up. Have you ever realized that the world around you bends itself to the state you occupy within? You are not reacting to life. Life is reacting to you. Every event, every person, every circumstance is but a mirror reflecting the tone of your inner feeling. If you wish to change the outer world, you must first change the inner state from which you live. To live from the wish fulfilled is to assume, right now, that you already are what you desire to be. You do not strive toward it. You rest in it. You feel the naturalness of the wish realized, not as something to come, but as something eternally true in this present moment. Imagination is not a daydream. It is the creative power of God within you. What you dare to imagine and feel as real will harden into fact. When you close your eyes tonight, enter into the scene of your fulfilled desire. See it, feel it, breathe it, until it becomes more real than the world of senses. Then fall asleep in that feeling. The outer world may not shift overnight, but rest assured, the seed has been planted. Persist in that inner knowing, and soon the invisible will take form before your eyes. The secret is not effort, but assumption. The question is not, when will it happen, but, am I living in the end now? The moment you live as though your wish is already fulfilled, you call forth the unseen forces of life to align with your belief. So tonight, walk in the feeling of the answered prayer. Let your heart overflow with gratitude. For what you inwardly assume with conviction, you will outwardly experience with certainty. The outer world mirrors your inner state, because consciousness is the only reality. What you hold within, the moods, beliefs, assumptions, and persistent thoughts, is projected outward as the conditions and experiences of your life. You are not observing a world separate from yourself. You are witnessing your own consciousness objectified. Every encounter, every event, every relationship is a reflection of what you have accepted as true about yourself and the world. When your inner conversations are filled with doubt, worry, and limitation, life faithfully reflects them back as lack and delay. But when your inner state is one of confidence, peace, and fulfillment, the world must conform to that vibration, for there is no reality apart from what you assume to be real within. Most people try to change the mirror instead of the face reflected in it. They fight against conditions, struggle with others, and try to manipulate outer circumstances, not realizing that the cause lies within their own consciousness. To change the reflection, one must first change the inner image. The secret is not in doing, but in being, in assuming the feeling of the desired state until it becomes your natural dwelling place. You do not need to wait for evidence in the outer world. Evidence appears only after the inner change has been accepted. When you awaken to this truth, you realize that you are never a victim of the external world. You are its creator. You begin to take responsibility for the thoughts you entertain and the emotions you nurture. Every inner conversation is a seed planted in the garden of your subconscious, and every seed must bring forth fruit after its kind. If you want love, embody the feeling of being loved. If you want success, live from the consciousness of one who has already succeeded. You cannot receive what you are not conscious of being. The outer world is plastic to your thoughts, yielding to the mold of your inner conviction. When you persist in a new assumption, no matter what appearances suggest, the world begins to reorganize itself to mirror your new belief. What once seemed immovable changes effortlessly, because reality is nothing more than the outpicturing of consciousness. You begin to notice synchronicities, opportunities, and people aligning with your inner vision. This is not coincidence, it is law. Every feeling that you consistently dwell upon writes itself upon the fabric of your life. You can test this truth in small ways. Change your mood and watch how people respond differently to you. Assume a state of peace before entering a room and see how harmony follows. Life is not happening to you, it is responding to you. The mirror never fails to reflect what you are inwardly imagining and believing. When you change the cause, the inner state, the effect must also change, for the outer world is only the echo of the inner voice. To live from the wish fulfilled, not toward it, is to shift from striving to being. It is the difference between hoping and knowing, between waiting and accepting. Most people live in the consciousness of wanting. They see their desire as something distant, separate, and yet to be achieved. They think constantly about how to get there, how long it will take, and what steps are required. But all of that effort stems from a belief that they do not yet have it. Desire, when held from the position of lack, only reproduces more lack. To live from the wish fulfilled is to abandon that sense of distance and to occupy, here and now, the feeling of already having what you seek. When you live from the wish fulfilled, you no longer act as a seeker, but as one who has found. Your inner dialogue changes. Instead of asking, "When will it come?" you say within yourself, "It is done." You move through the day with quiet assurance, because your imagination has already accepted the end as fact. The outer world is slow to catch up, but that no longer matters. You are no longer waiting for the world to confirm your belief. You are allowing your belief to shape the world. Imagination is the workshop of creation. What you feel to be true within the silence of your mind eventually solidifies into visible reality. To live from the wish fulfilled is to dwell in that invisible reality with such naturalness that the outer must conform. This is not pretending or forcing, it is acceptance. You do not daydream of being wealthy, you feel the satisfaction of already being so. You do not imagine being loved someday, you rest in the comfort of already being cherished. Every thought, every feeling, every reaction flows from this inner conviction. When you persist in the assumption of the wish fulfilled, the universe has no choice but to mirror it. The people you meet, the circumstances you encounter, the opportunities that arise, all reflect your inner state of being. You cease to chase outcomes and instead live as though they are already complete. This quiet confidence, this calm knowing, is the essence of faith. Faith is loyalty to the unseen reality, the conviction that what you imagine with feeling is already true. Living from the wish fulfilled dissolves the struggle, for struggle belongs only to those who live in separation from their desire. The one who lives in the end walks with ease because he knows creation is finished. He moves through the world as the embodiment of his fulfilled dream, and the world, being a faithful servant, adjusts itself accordingly. To live from the wish fulfilled is to claim your divine power of assumption, to inhabit the state of your desire so completely that reality must bow to your inner conviction. Imagination is the creative power within you, the invisible force that shapes and sustains everything you experience. It is not mere fantasy or idle dreaming, but the very essence of creation itself. Everything that exists in the world, every building, invention, painting, or idea, was once only imagined. Before it became visible to the senses, it lived first in the unseen realm of thought and feeling. You are constantly using imagination, whether consciously or unconsciously, and every use of it molds the conditions of your life. To imagine is to create, for imagination is the divine activity through which reality takes form. Within you lies the same creative power that formed the universe. It is the power of awareness, the ability to see inwardly and feel what is not yet visible outwardly. Whatever you accept as true in imagination, your subconscious mind receives as fact and expresses through the events and circumstances of your life. When you imagine lack, limitation, or fear, those images clothe themselves in form. When you imagine abundance, confidence, and love, those qualities take root and blossom. The outer world is only a shadow cast by the pictures held in your inner mind. Most people misuse imagination by filling it with worry, doubt, and negative expectation. They rehearse failure in advance and then wonder why it appears. But imagination, being creative, does not distinguish between good or bad. It simply brings forth what you impress upon it with feeling. The key is to direct it consciously, to use it lovingly and purposefully. You must dare to imagine the best of yourself and the highest for your life. When you imagine with conviction, the unseen begins to arrange itself to fulfill that image, for imagination sets the pattern and life responds in perfect correspondence. To use imagination effectively, You must enter the state of the wish fulfilled. Close your eyes and see yourself being, doing, and having that which you desire. Feel it with all the intensity of a real experience. Let it be natural, vivid, and emotionally charged. The subconscious mind does not reason. It accepts what you feel to be true. If you can sustain that feeling long enough, the world must reflect it, for imagination is the womb of reality. The unseen world moves to support every idea vividly felt as real within. When you recognize imagination as the creative power within you, you cease to look outside for causes and begin to cultivate the inner world of thought and feeling. You become deliberate in what you entertain mentally. You choose images of harmony instead of conflict, of health instead of illness, of joy instead of sorrow. Every act of imagining becomes an act of creation. You begin to see that nothing happens by chance, that every outer condition was first conceived in imagination, and that by changing your inner picture, you inevitably transform your world. Feeling is the secret of manifestation, because it is the bridge between imagination and reality, the invisible force that gives life to every assumption you hold within. Thought alone does not create, it is feeling that animates thought and impresses it upon the subconscious mind. The subconscious does not respond to words or logic, it responds to the emotional vibration behind them. Whatever you feel deeply and persistently, whether good or bad, becomes your experience. Feeling is the language through which your inner world speaks to the creative power that shapes your outer world. Every desire you hold already exists in the unseen realm, waiting to be called forth through feeling. When you imagine the wish fulfilled and allow yourself to feel its reality, you are aligning your inner state with the frequency of that desire. It is not enough to merely visualize, you must feel the scene as though it were taking place now. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is the secret key that unlocks the door of creation. The moment you accept the feeling that your desire is already accomplished, you send a command to the subconscious to make it so. From that moment, invisible forces begin to move, and the outer world rearranges itself to mirror your new inner assumption. Most people fail to manifest their desires because they remain in the feeling of wanting rather than having. They visualize their dream, but continue to feel lack, doubt, or impatience. The subconscious then reproduces the feeling of lack instead of fulfillment. The secret is to bypass the sense of absence and dwell only in the satisfaction of possession. Feel the joy, relief, and gratitude as though it were already true. Let that feeling become your dwelling place, your inner home. The longer you remain faithful to that inner mood, the sooner it will objectify itself in form. Feeling is the magnetic force that draws experiences into your life. It is the invisible thread that connects imagination with manifestation. Every time you consciously generate the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you are planting a seed in the garden of your subconscious. That seed must grow, for feeling impregnates the subconscious and compels expression. You cannot be in the feeling of wealth and continue to experience poverty for long. You cannot dwell in the feeling of love and continue to experience rejection. The outer world must conform to the inner feeling held with persistence and faith. To master feeling is to master creation. You begin to realize that you are not a victim of circumstance, but the author of every scene you live. Your emotions are not random. They are the creative tools of your destiny. Each moment offers you a choice: to feel from the old state of limitation or the new state of fulfillment. The feeling you choose to dwell in becomes the world you wake up to tomorrow. Assume the state of the wish, realized, and persist. For assumption is the creative act that bridges the unseen and the seen. Everything begins in consciousness, and the state you occupy determines the world you experience. To assume the state of the wish realized is to inwardly claim, here and now, that you already are what you desire to be. It is not a matter of pretending or forcing belief. It is a matter of inward identification. You shift from hoping to knowing, from desiring to being. The feeling of the wish fulfilled becomes your natural atmosphere, and life must echo that assumption in form and circumstance. When you assume, you accept the end as fact, regardless of appearances. You no longer wait for proof in the outer world. You provide the proof within yourself through feeling. You walk, speak, and think from the end, not toward it. You begin to carry yourself as the person who already possesses the desired outcome. This change of consciousness is subtle yet powerful, for the outer world is compelled to mirror your inner conviction. The law of assumption works with mathematical certainty. What you persist in imagining and feeling as true must eventually be expressed in the world of form. Persistence is the key that unlocks manifestation. Many begin the journey of assumption, but abandon it when appearances contradict their inner vision. They return to doubt, and the seed of their desire is uprooted before it has time to grow. But the one who persists, who remains loyal to the unseen reality, inevitably brings the invisible into visibility. Persistence means maintaining the inner knowing despite delay, trusting that the law is perfect and unfailing. The outer world may take time to reflect the inner change, but that time is only the interval required for the unseen to crystallize into the seen. Assuming the state of the wish realized requires emotional fidelity. You must feel the reality of your desire so vividly that it becomes more real than the evidence of your senses. The senses will tempt you to doubt, to believe that nothing is happening, yet this is the moment to remain steadfast. Faith is not passive waiting, it is active inner certainty. To persist in the assumption is to dwell continually in the feeling of fulfillment until it feels natural and effortless. Once it becomes natural, manifestation is inevitable. This inner discipline transforms the way you live. You no longer chase results, you embody them. You no longer ask when it will come, you rest in the knowing that it already is. Each day, you return inwardly to the state of completion, nourishing it with gratitude and conviction. Through persistence, the assumed state becomes your dominant vibration, and life in perfect obedience reshapes itself to reflect the reality you have steadfastly claimed within sleep in the feeling of the fulfilled desire. For sleep is the gateway between the conscious and the subconscious mind, the sacred moment when impressions sink deeply into the creative core of your being. The state you occupy before drifting into sleep is the state that will be impressed upon your subconscious, and from it your world will be molded. The outer world is nothing more than the crystallized shadow of what you have inwardly assumed, and there is no moment more potent for assumption than the moments before sleep. In that drowsy borderland between waking and dreaming, the conscious mind grows quiet, the critical faculties fade, and the subconscious stands open and receptive to suggestion. To sleep in the feeling of the fulfilled desire is to abandon the consciousness of wanting and enter the consciousness of having. It means you no longer fall asleep as the person who hopes or waits, but as the one who already possesses what was longed for. You close your eyes and feel the end as real, letting that feeling soothe you into rest. If your desire is for love, feel the warmth and safety of being loved. If it is for success, feel the satisfaction and peace of accomplishment. Whatever the wish, you must assume its reality so completely that it feels natural. The subconscious accepts only what feels real, and once it is accepted, it begins to express that truth through the fabric of your life. This practice transforms sleep into creation. Instead of replaying the worries of the day or imagining the same limitations, you turn sleep into an act of faith. You deliberately choose the feeling you wish to carry into the depths of consciousness. As you relax and drift into slumber, the line between imagination and reality dissolves, and your feeling becomes a living seed planted in fertile soil. During sleep, that seed takes root, and when you awaken, life begins to rearrange itself to mirror your inner conviction. Many allow sleep to carry them into the vibration of fear, regret, or longing, not realizing that they are perpetuating the very states they wish to escape. The wise deliberately enter sleep as the person they desire to be, knowing that the subconscious never rests. Whatever you impress upon it through feeling will be reproduced faithfully. To sleep in the wish fulfilled is to surrender completely to the unseen reality, trusting that what you feel as true will externalize itself in divine order. This is not a ritual of effort, but one of surrender. You need not force or strain. You simply let the feeling of the fulfilled desire lull you to rest. The more natural the feeling becomes, the more effortlessly it will be expressed. Night after night, as you practice this sacred art, your inner world is rewritten, and the outer must obey, for the law of life is always to reflect the feeling most deeply held within. Do not question how or when. Trust the process. For the moment you ask how or when, you step out of faith and into doubt. The mind that insists on knowing the mechanics of manifestation is the same mind that believes the power lies outside itself. But creation does not unfold through logic or visible pathways. It flows through unseen channels that the intellect cannot trace. The how and when belong to the infinite intelligence within you, not to the limited reasoning of the outer mind. Your task is not to manipulate circumstances, but to sustain the feeling of the fulfilled desire, for feeling is the law, and the unseen processes of life obey its command. When you plant a seed in the earth, you do not dig it up each day to check its progress. You trust the invisible work of nature to bring it to fruition. In the same way, when you impress your desire upon the subconscious mind, you must let it be. You rest in the knowing that the seed has been planted and that in its appointed time it will bear fruit. The questioning of how and when only disturbs the soil, delaying growth. Faith is quiet confidence, the inner assurance that what you have felt as real within will take form without. To trust the process is to know that unseen forces are already moving, arranging people, events, and circumstances in perfect harmony to bring your desire to pass. The need to control the outcome is born from fear, the fear that perhaps nothing is happening. Yet creation is always happening, even when the senses report no change. The world of form is slow to reveal the invisible shifts that occur in consciousness, but the law is certain, as within, so without. When you persist in the inner knowing, reality must adjust itself. The bridge of incidents that leads to your manifestation will appear naturally, often in ways you could never have planned. The how reveals itself only after you have released it. To trust the process is to surrender the outer struggle and dwell in the inner assurance. It is to live each day as though your prayer were already answered, without needing evidence or validation. You act from the end, not toward it. You speak, move, and think as one whose desire is already complete. This calm certainty carries a magnetic power that draws fulfillment effortlessly. Every doubt, every anxious question, is an attempt to interfere with the divine order of creation. When you cease to question and begin to trust, peace replaces impatience, and faith replaces fear. You become still, knowing that what you have conceived within must express without. Trust is the soil in which miracles grow, and patience is the proof of belief. The unseen works perfectly silently, and without fail for the one who holds unwavering faith in the reality of the unseen fulfillment. The unseen world responds to inner conviction, because conviction is the language of creation, the vibration through which the invisible forces of life take their cue. The world you perceive with your senses is only a shadow cast by what you have accepted as true within. Every belief, every assumption, every deeply felt idea is a command issued to the unseen, and the unseen obeys with perfect precision. Life does not respond to half-hearted wishes or fleeting hopes. It responds to the conviction that something is already so. The unseen world is not moved by words, but by the feeling of certainty behind them. When you inwardly know that your desire is fulfilled, that knowing becomes law, and the outer world has no choice but to mirror it. Inner conviction is not loud, it is calm and unshakable. It is the quiet assurance that what you have imagined and felt as real exists now, even if it has not yet taken visible form. Conviction is the awareness that the unseen world, the realm of consciousness, is the only true reality, and the physical world is its reflection. When you understand this, you stop pleading with life and start assuming your creative authority. You cease to beg for change and begin to feel the reality of your desire within yourself. That inner acceptance is what sets unseen forces into motion, arranging the perfect circumstances, people, and events to bring about the visible expression of your assumption. The unseen world responds not to effort, but to alignment. You align with your desire through feeling, through belief, through the persistent assumption that it is already yours. Every time you dwell in that feeling, you are speaking to the unseen, instructing it to materialize your inner state. The subconscious mind, the infinite intelligence of creation, receives your conviction as truth, and begins to outpicture it in the world of form. If your conviction wavers, the results waver. If your conviction remains steadfast, the unseen must yield in exact correspondence to your inner certainty. Many fail to see the connection between their inner state and their outer world because they live by appearances. They believe only what they can see and therefore perpetuate the same experiences over and over. But when one begins to trust the unseen and live from inner conviction, life transforms in extraordinary ways. Doors open where there were none. People appear at the perfect moment. Solutions arrive effortlessly. This is not magic, it is law. The unseen world is always responding to the tone of your inner belief, bringing forth evidence to match it. To cultivate inner conviction is to master the art of faith. It is to hold unwavering belief in the unseen reality until it becomes seen. The outer world cannot resist the force of a mind that knows its power. When you move through life anchored in conviction, reality bends in obedience to your inner state, for the unseen world forever answers to the certainty of what you assume to be true. Gratitude magnetizes your fulfilled state because it aligns your inner vibration with the frequency of already having. When you feel genuine gratitude, you are no longer in the energy of wanting or waiting, you are living in the feeling of completion. Gratitude is the emotional signature of fulfillment. It declares silently to the universe, "It is done." Every moment spent in true appreciation strengthens your connection to the reality you desire, for you cannot feel grateful for something you do not, at some level, believe you have. Gratitude is faith in motion, the acknowledgement that what you have desired already exists in the unseen and is now unfolding into your experience. To express gratitude before the outer evidence appears is to demonstrate mastery of the creative process. It means you trust the unseen more than the visible. It means you have accepted your desire as real within, and now you are simply allowing it to take form. The grateful heart is magnetic because it operates from abundance, not from lack. While complaint and impatience repel the desired state, by affirming its absence, gratitude affirms its presence. Every thankful thought, every sincere appreciation draws you deeper into the vibration of fulfillment, and the outer world, being responsive to your inner state, must echo that feeling through circumstances that mirror abundance and joy. Gratitude transforms perception. It shifts your focus from what is missing to what is already complete. In doing so, it opens the channel for more to flow. When you begin to feel thankful for the smallest blessings, the breath in your lungs, the light of a new day, the simple gifts that already surround you, you tune yourself to the frequency of receiving. The more you appreciate, the more life gives you to appreciate, for consciousness expands according to the feeling it dwells in. Gratitude becomes not merely a practice, but a way of being, a state of consciousness that magnetizes all that harmonizes with it. When you imagine the wish fulfilled, pair it with deep gratitude as though it were already accomplished. Feel the relief, the joy, the quiet satisfaction that comes when a long-desired dream is realized. Let that gratitude sink deeply into your being until it becomes natural. The subconscious mind accepts the feeling of gratitude as proof of possession and begins to reproduce it outwardly. Gratitude seals the assumption, locking it into place so that doubt and fear cannot uproot it. Even in moments of delay, gratitude keeps you aligned with faith. It reminds you that creation is already finished and that your role is to receive it with trust. The more you live in thankfulness, the faster the unseen responds, because gratitude harmonizes your entire being with the reality of your desire. It is the emotional bridge between imagination and manifestation, the magnetic current that draws the invisible into visibility, and the unseen fulfillment into tangible form, live each moment, as though your dream is already real. For creation begins and ends within consciousness. The state you occupy now determines the world you will meet tomorrow. When you live from the end, you embody the vibration of your fulfilled desire, and the outer world, being nothing but a mirror, must reflect that state back to you. Most people wait for evidence before they believe, yet belief itself is the cause of evidence. To live as though your dream is real is to reverse this natural order. To let inner conviction come first, knowing the outer must follow. Every thought, every word, every gesture becomes an expression of the reality you have already claimed within. To live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled is not pretending or forcing. It is assuming the truth of your desire so completely that it becomes second nature. You begin to move through the world as the person who already possesses what was once only imagined. You think the thoughts they would think, speak the words they would speak, and feel the confidence they would feel. This is the essence of creative living, not waiting for life to change, but changing yourself now and allowing life to catch up. The more consistently you dwell in that inner state, the faster reality reorganizes itself to mirror it. For the world is always obedient to your dominant vibration. Each moment offers a choice to live from the old story or from the new. The old story says, I am becoming. The new story says, I am. When you choose the latter, you collapse the distance between desire and fulfillment. You cease to chase and begin to attract. You cease to strive and begin to allow. Every moment lived from your fulfilled state strengthens your connection to it, until what was once imagination becomes natural, and what was once unseen becomes visible. This way of living transforms ordinary actions into sacred expressions of faith. You eat, walk, speak, and rest as the one who already has. Even in small moments, your assumption radiates through you, a calm assurance that the unseen is already accomplished. The energy of fulfillment carries a quiet power. It does not beg. It does not hurry. It simply is. The person who lives from their fulfilled dream no longer seeks signs, because their entire being has become the sign. They know that the world must bow to the inner state they consistently occupy. To live each moment as though your dream is already real is to dwell in perpetual alignment with the highest version of yourself. It is to anchor heaven within, to make imagination more real than the senses. When you inhabit this state with sincerity and persistence, the invisible begins to shape itself into visible form. For the world is compelled to express the consciousness you most deeply embody,